Hey, welcome back to the HuntCals installation decals. We're going on to video number 2. We just installed a simple decal on a piece of glass. We're going to go to something a little bit more detailed now. All right, this decal here has a lot of stars in it and little bitty pieces. Some people have a lot of problems with the flags with stars because of all those little pieces, and it really comes down to whether they got the masking to stick to the decal itself, how they pull it off, and how they put it on the window. Remember, there's a lot of times you got to re-rub this to get everything to stick good, because you could even have masking by the time it comes to you in the mail that's peeling up on the edges and things like that, and even pulling some of the decal along with it, like you see right there. Okay, that's not a big deal, folks. Remember, we need a few things when we start installing. We need to have our paper towel, masking tape, and something to clean your glass or your surface with. All right, guys, sometimes this stuff might seem a little bit redundant. We're going to do the same thing. Other side of the SUV's back window, we got a lot of road grime and a lot of dust. You got to have a clean surface to start with. If you call us up and you say your decal's not sticking, we know that you either took it off wrong, you boogered it up somehow, or you put it on an unclean surface. So make sure you start with a nice clean surface and get all that road grime and that junk off the back of the window of your vehicle, or the side of your vehicle, or your windshield, or wherever you're going to put this thing. Okay, got to start with a clean surface, and really that goes down to anything that you're doing. You don't want to cook with dirty cookware, you don't want to eat off dirty silverware, and you surely don't want to be working with something that means something to you, like a decal that you just spend a lot of money on and sticking it on a dirty surface. Okay, so we get this nice and clean, and we know where we're going to put the decal. Now on this decal, just to help you guys out, we're going to put this on pretty square, and I'm going to actually use the masking tape to show you how. All right, as the decals come out of the process of being cut, sometimes the bottoms and the tops aren't cut square. That's really not relevant, folks. What you want to do is you want to look at the decal itself and say, how do I want this situated on my surface? Okay, so we want to make sure that this decal is fairly square with the bottom of this window. Otherwise, it's going to look funny if you're going down the road and it's all cockeyed like that. So what you can do, you can get a tape measure, or you can get an ID card or something and just measure. And I'm just going to use this ID card and measure to the bottom line of that flag. And I know that I'm square there. Well, let's see where I'm at here. Okay, so this side's got to come up a little bit. All right. This is sometimes, if you're all alone, it's a little tougher. If you got a buddy to help you, it helps out sometimes. There we go. So there. And this side's got to come up just a hair. There we go. So that should sit pretty square on there after we're done. So now we know where we want it. So let's put a little bit of tape on here to hold it in place. Okay, there we go. Now again, remember, we told you that sometimes these little detailed spots, like these stars and stuff, they sometimes will stick to the masking because they're so small. So you're going to want to make sure you really put some effort into pushing some pressure on them and make sure that those little stars are sticking to the masking that we're going to pull off, because we want that to come off with it. Okay? Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. If you're really having problems, and as you pull, you start seeing that your decal is not going to cooperate with you, and it's starting to, look at that, it's sticking to the backing instead of the masking, and you tried it a couple of different times and you can't get it to work, then you may want to forego the masking tape, take this back to the table and peel it up on there. But we don't think we're going to have that problem here just yet, so we're going to go ahead. And again, when we're doing this, you don't want to do it at such a sharp angle. You want the backing to come off at a sharp angle. So we're going to roll it up a little bit. There we go. Now we got it coming. Now you can sometimes just go down and do a little push with your finger and it'll pick the decal up. Now a lot of times, if these decals were mailed to you and there was some heat in the, the weather was hot outside or whatever in the mail truck, they might want to stick to the backing a little bit more. So that's not a problem. Just take your time pulling it off, okay? All that means is it's got to get stuck to the back, to this masking, for a very short period of time. So let's go here, and then if you have problems, you can always pull it up. There you go. You see how I pulled the backing away first? There we go. We're getting this thing to come up nice. We got a little bit sticking here. Again, we'll do the same thing. We'll come up here, pull the backing off the masking. There we go. It's all in how much time you want to take. If you're going to be in a rush, you could have problems. Okay, so I'm going to put it up here. If I had someone to help me, they could hold the corners. And I'm going to pull this masking, or the backing, away from the masking. You see how the stars are all staying on there nicely? Well, if all of a sudden I'm going along and I see a star stuck to my backing, I'm going to go backwards with the backing, push a little bit of pressure on my stars, come back down, and start pulling that backing away nice and gently. Nice and gentle, make sure everything is sticking to the mask. And, oh, I got a bunch of stars here. Right here, I don't know if you can see them. These stars want to stick. They want to stay with the backing, so I got to get a little bit more of an angle. Get this up here. I'm going to have to put a little bit more pressure on there. Oh, there's two right there that are sticking. As long as you keep putting it back up in the same place, everything's going to come off just fine. It's all going to stay lined up. Got one more. See, look here. I got some stuff right now. If I pull it off, look at there. That's not a big deal. Simply go back up and put my masking, my backing on there. I got my masking tape here still holding me in place where I want it to be. There we go. I'm going to pull that backing back down. Let's go. Look at that. Everything's stuck. Nothing stuck to the backing. You just got to take your time, folks. Okay, I'm going to switch sides here a little bit just because I'm right-handed and I want to use the other hand. So I've got my masking tape is holding my decal. We got the backing off. Again, folks, to be honest with you, these smaller ones like this would be a lot easier if you did this on a table and separated the backing. But just for the sake of somebody that's really OCD and wants to measure everything out, we did it this way on the surface. But to be honest with you, on stuff with the stars, I'd recommend pulling it off on the table, and I'm going to show you how to do that again in just a second. Okay, so now we're about ready to put this on. If you can get somebody to help you and pull the corners and keep it nice and straight, that's great. Otherwise, you can do it yourself. But make sure you put your decal on and do it in swipes, okay? Make sure you don't have any air bubbles. And if you try to push it all down at once, you're going to end up with air bubbles in the middle. So you're better off to go nice and easy like that, a little bit at a time. Sweep into the sides. Don't worry about how hard it's sticking right now, because we can put that on later. Also, if you have any wrinkles or anything in the masking, that doesn't mean anything. Okay, don't worry about that. It matters what happens with the decal underneath. The masking doesn't matter. So we got the decal all on. It's in place. And now we're going to take our ID card or our credit card, and we want to make sure that this is all seated to the window really, really good. The same problem that we had when we were pulling the backing away, we can have when we pull the masking off with these little bitty stars. So we want to make sure that you put, don't scrape it down where you tear this and wreck the decal below it, but put some good pressure on there and make sure that you sweep that down, get it on there nice and seated to your surface. Okay, now you can go a number of different ways. I like to start at the bigger area and work my way past the small stuff. I'm going to pull these pieces of tape off of here because we don't need those on anymore. Everything's sticking to the window. There we go. All right, let's start pulling this off now. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, and again, I'm going to come at a real sharp angle. Don't grab this and pull it out, because that's the best way to get the stuff to come with you. But if you keep a nice sharp angle like this, nice and close to your surface where you're working, you see that it's leaving the decal all behind nicely. These stars on these flags are some of the worst ones for folks having problems, and all it is something you just got to take your time with. We're going to go real slow. We should be good on the stripes right now, the way that that's all lined up. Okay, you get an air bubble, rub it out. Okay, not a big deal. We're getting to the stars now. Let's see how they go. See if we get any of them that want to follow us. They're all sticking to the window pretty good right now. We did a nice job. This one here came off a little bit. Push it down when we're done. But none of them seem to be sticking to the masking just yet. And again, let's say that this one actually was following us. You just simply go back, take your ID card or your credit card, give it a little bit more push, and then pull it back the other way again. Okay, remember to keep everything nice and close. Work in small areas. Get a friend to help you if you need a hand. Look at that. There it comes. So if you're having problems with these stars not wanting to stay to the masking, or they want to stick to the backing, or or whatever, just go back and rub on them a little bit more and seat them back down. As long as everything stays in place, you can go back and forth as many times as you want until this sticks to your surface. Once it's stuck to your surface, it's not going to come up. So there's not going to be a problem with this sticking to the surface unless you put it on and off a bunch of times, or you pulled it off on here and messed it up. Okay. All right, there we just installed one that has a little bit more detail. We put the stars on. And now we're going to go to a long decal. We're going to do that next, okay?